Now let's look at our final scenario, coming up with the subnet address, broadcast address, and valid host range. So our last scenario here, given an IP address and subnet mask, find the subnet address that the address resides upon, that IP address resides upon, find the broadcast, find the first host, last host, that's the valid range. So let's use an example here, 172.16.211.12. And we'll use a subnet mask of a /20. So let's find the subnet address for this IP address. This is a host address. This is the address that's on a computer or on a router, or on an actual host device. This is the subnet mask for that particular device. This is useful. Say, for instance, you're configuring on your router, you configure interface Ethernet 0, and then you configure IP address, and then you use this IP address and this mask. The router itself will take this subnet mask and pick out the bits that correspond, that are in this address, and take those corresponding bits and plug them into the routing table and associate them in the routing table with Ethernet 0, indicating that that's where that network is. Now, how does the router know which portion to take out and put in the routing table? That's what we're about to look at now. That's what this particular scenario helps us with. Remember, this particular scenario, we use our different rules, and we're just going to allow those different rules to let everything just fall into place. So the first thing we write is the mask, 255.255. That's 8, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Right there in the mask, and then the rest of this will be all zeros. Once you have the mask, when you're subnetting with the rules, here's the way we'll play this game. Remember, you always write the mask. Once you have that mask, you can then draw your line, draw a red line from top to bottom. Everything on the left side of this red line is going to remain the same as whatever we have in the address. Everything on the right side of the line will follow the rules. This is just going to fall right in place once we just follow the rules. I call this the trust the line method of subnetting. Once you have that line in place, then everything else is just going to fall in place. Everything to the left stays the same. Everything to the right, you'll manipulate. So let's write our address in now. 172.16, and then we had a 211. Add 128.64, that's 192. We don't need the 32, and we add 16, that brings us to 208. We don't need that. 208 plus 4 would be too much, and then we turn on those last two for 211. And then we have a 12 here. We want that. So that's our number, 172.16.211.12. Now, as I mentioned, once we have this line in place, everything to the left side stays the same from this address, and then everything to the right will manipulate. Where did the line come from? The line came from where the bits stopped, where the ones in the mask stopped. Wherever the ones stop, between the one, that last one, and the first zero here, you draw your red line. Once you've got that line, everything else just falls in place. Here's how it goes. The first rule is the subnet address. Subnet address equals all host bits set to 0. So we'll leave everything the same over here. Everything's the same on this side, and we'll set all the host bits to 0. That gives us 172.16.208.0. That's the subnet address for that IP address. The first host, of course, the rule is the subnet plus 1, so we'll do the same here. Everything stays the same over here, and then we'll add 1. Here's where we add the 1 right here. So the first host address is 172.16.208.1. Then the broadcast address, the rule here is set all host bits to 1. So we'll leave everything the same to the left of the line, and we'll set all of our host bits to 1. And that gives us 172.16, and we add 208. We take the 208 and we add the rest of this here. 208 plus 8 is 216, 220, 222, 223. So the broadcast address is 172.16.223.255. The last host address, the rule is the broadcast minus 1, 172.16.1101, and we will subtract 1 at the very end here to get our broadcast address. So 172.16.223.254 is our example there. So that gives us a valid range of host addresses. From 172.16.208.1 up through 172.16.223.254. So that gives us a look at subnetting. We looked at our tasks, we looked at the different scenarios, as well as a few examples that you can use in preparing for your exam.